Hi, everybody. It's me, Zen Maiden, and I'm here to welcome to the show. Tonight we have a collaboration with some of the great minds here of the YouTube community, and I want to introduce our panel tonight. And with us tonight in the most denial, Rosemary, the mask of denial.
The mask of denial.
She's in the mask of denial. So we're very pleased to have her with us tonight to share in this collaboration. And we also have Sister Scaleback, Kathy. Welcome. This is her first YouTube live show, and she's going to be sharing her thoughts and opinions with us here on the segment. And in the middle, last but last by any means, is Rob Reno, the infamous, famous Life Happens soap opera star here on YouTube. Welcome, everyone, to the panel, and welcome everybody joining us here in YouTube land. So tonight our topic is denial in weight loss, and I know this topic is huge, so we're just going to each just tackle like a little segment. We're going to talk about it, ask questions. If you guys have any questions you'd like to ask, hopefully we'll be able to see them and answer them. But in the meantime, the first thing I'm going to throw out here is my first question to my panelists is going to be, how do you think you are currently using, if you are, denial in your journey today? And let's start with the one in the most denial, Gastric Rose.
How do I do what? What was?
How do you think, if you are using denial today in your journey, how do you think that it's affecting you, and how are you using it if you're using it at all today?
If I'm using it today, well, today, let me tell you, my husband has a bunch of candy waiting for Halloweeners, right, for Saturday. And I knew we bought them way too early. I knew that. And I said, look, if I'm going to have a piece of candy, I'm going to have a piece of candy and not any more. And I have to really, really keep myself from eating anymore because I know exactly where it's going to go, right? And my thing is that, you know, we think, oh, well, I'll exercise a little bit more tomorrow if I can just eat one more, maybe 2 pieces today instead of 1 piece. That's where I'm at today.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. That makes sense. How about you, Catherine?
Well, I guess right now what I would say is that I'm about 1.5 years out from gastric bypass, and my denial is just starting to think that I know what I'm doing. A lot of times I think I have a handle on it, and I know I don't. But I'm just in denial about it. I can have that cracker. It's not going to do anything. Or I can have that, and it's okay. And that's the way it used to be, but it's not the way it is now. So I have to continuously remind myself that I don't know it all.
Oh, that's awesome. That's an awesome take. And I forgot to go back, and for people who don't know us, Gastric Rose is the most far out veteran here on this panel in the collaboration. She's about 10 or 11 years out from RNY.
11. And
Kathy's about 1.5 years from her RNY, and Rob is non-weight loss surgery, and I am almost 4 years out of VSG post-op. So, Rob, go ahead and answer the question that we started with. So I just wanted to get everybody up to speed on who's who here.
So the question was, do I think I'm using denial today? And the answer would be no. I definitely know where I'm at. I'm not denying the fact that I'm overweight, that I have a regain, that I have struggles. And there is a huge difference between denial and excuses. I tend to be more of a person that will make excuses for things. And I'm trying really hard to work on my relationship with food and to change my mind, to change my life, so that I realize at the end of the day, excuses get me nowhere. Am I going to make mistakes? I am. But if I learn from those mistakes, then I can change my mind to change my life. So I'm not in denial about anything about where I'm at. I can look in the mirror and clearly see where I'm at physically, and mentally, since I'm healthy in my mind, I know where I'm at, and I am not in denial of the position that I'm in right now at all. So it's something, it's a work in progress every day.
Well, let me
Right.
give you the definition of deceive, okay, and denial, okay, and delude. I have the three D's. I took a psychology class at one time in my life, and we did the three D's with the kids, and it was always deceive, delude, or deny. Those were the three D's. And the denial means that the action of declaring something to be untrue, right? Then you've got delude, which is impose a misleading belief upon someone's deceived. So again, we fool ourselves into believing the truth. I mean, the denial part. And the deny is state that one refuses to admit the truth or existence. So I say that all three of them really mean that, untruth. We tend to want to believe the untruth. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we make that mistake, or that we want to intertwine the denial with the truth. Kids are really good about telling us, their truth, but we really know the truth. You know what I'm saying? Because we're a little older, and we tend to do that. Like with the candy, I know darn well that if I exercise extra, it's really, I can get those calories off by doing that, but what's the point? I'm still going to gain the calories. You see what I'm saying? I'm still going to get the calories in. So either I don't eat it, or I don't buy it, or I leave it alone, And no matter what, it's about facing the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So,
I see those. I see all those are valid points. I know I've used it a great deal in my journey and in my life in the past, and I think in current circumstance, I mean, of course, we are cognizant of our choices most of the time, but I think that sometimes when it comes into play where we think that we're just going to have a little, and just having that little here, and then that little then, and the little the next week, and the next week, and the next week, and making that like justified somehow in our minds that it was only a little, and that over time that we're really kidding ourselves, or I'm kidding myself, I'll use myself, that I'm kidding myself about what that actually means in the long run. Because in the long run, as I keep doing that little and little and little, then I'm going to see a pound here, and little later, a pound there. So maybe over a year's time, 5 pounds, 8 pounds, 10 pounds. And so I think that that's where the mind plays tricks on us. We're thinking it's just a little, and we have to let ourselves do that here and there, which, is true, of course, but nonetheless, on the other hand, we have to face the fact that over time, if we continue to do these things, and some people more so than others are more susceptible to this, perhaps, that we are going to see residual or long-term effects of these eating patterns. And I think I can be a witness to myself for that, because how can a little bit hurt me? Well,
but where the denial comes is when we say, "How did I gain 5 pounds? Oh my Lord!"
Yeah,
right.
Because, right. We didn't get to our highest weight overnight. I mean,
Right.
It took a long time to gradually creep up to that place. We didn't just wake up one day and say, "Oh, holy moly, I'm X pounds." And how did that happen? And we went from size whatever to the next size, to the next size, to the next size. And, we kept thinking, oh, well, maybe I gained a little. No big deal. I needed new clothes anyway.
For a lot of years,
Go ahead.
sorry, for a lot of years I was really slim, and when I met Jerry and I started getting bigger, I convinced myself that it was because I got happy, because I'm happy now, and I'm married, and we're having such a great time. And probably 10 years later, before I faced the truth and I got out of my denial, that I'm actually just covering up my emotions from the past. So it took a long time to come to that realization, but denial was a huge part of why I became obese in the first place.
I think the thing that, at least for me, that I want to bring out in tonight's show too, is that I don't think, for me, and I'm not directing this towards any of you guys, I think when you turn your back to certain things, I really think this has to become a point where we learn to build a relationship with food, and we learn moderation both in the amount of something we eat and how often we eat that food. Moderation has to be done in both ways for you to be long-term successful. Like Rose said about the candy, or Zen watches her carbs a lot. If you sat down and ate a ton of candy every day and carbs, you are going to see weight. But if you had candy in moderation here and there, and the amount was small, you will learn how to be able to enjoy those liberties once in a while. But if you don't build a relationship with food, you're just going to continue to shove food down your throat and continue not to know how to manage it or get a grasp on it. Now, that's just my view. That doesn't make it right. But all of us on here are different, and I am a firm believer that I will not turn my back to anything I like. My responsibility to be healthy and to myself is to learn to have respect food, respect myself, respect my body, and use moderation in the amount of how much I eat something and how often I choose to eat those foods if they're not the healthiest thing. But when as a food addict, if I turn my back to those things, it could be a tornado like there's no tomorrow with binging.
I think that a lot of times, because we denied ourselves so much, you know, with or vice versa. I remember not caring about it. I didn't deny myself. That was my problem.
Right.
My problem was not so much that that now I can eat one candy or two, and I'm not talking about candy bars. I'm talking about the little, you know, you give away at Halloween. But anyway, before, I didn't care to deny myself. What was the point? I was already 500 pounds. What's the point? I'm not going to get any skinnier. I'm going to eat the candy, okay? Now I choose to deny some of those indulgence, and yes, with moderation, because I'm not going to deny myself everything. Right. Because I do live a life, you know. I do have to live my life, but I know what causes my weight gain now. Before, I really didn't know what caused my weight gain. I do today. And that's what keeps me maintaining, you know. So.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, you made huge strides in overcoming those things on your along the way. You've made a lot of adjustments, and like you said, you learned where you didn't know at the beginning what was causing it. You learned to identify what those things are. And, you know, I think that sometimes as we get older, too, and maybe this doesn't apply to the younger panelists and the younger people out here, but as we get older, I think that sometimes we're in denial that our body has shifted and that we are no longer able to consume things that we once consumed in the same quantities that we could at age 30, 35, you know, and even once we jump over 35 into the 40s, and then from the 40s onward, the amount that we can actually eat, at least for women and for myself, I'll speak for myself, is greatly changed. And the ballpark just changes itself up. And I think for a while, when I was first going through that shift in my 40s, that's when I hit my highest weight, was in my 40s, that I was in denial about the types of things that I was eating. Oh, if I eat salad all day and then when I come home I can eat 3 chocolate chip waffles without syrup. You know, that's how I got to, without syrup, it still made me gain a ton of weight. You know, while gaming or being on the computer, I was in denial. And it wasn't until I saw a photograph of myself in horror on my birthday, of my daughter bringing me breakfast, and someone took a picture of me sitting at my computer or on a little side table eating my breakfast happily, and then I saw a picture of myself, and wow, my denial was over at that point.
It's funny
at
that
least
you said
in that regard.
It's funny that you say terrifies, because I wrote down something that says, when you live in denial, it means you're hiding from something that terrifies you.
Yeah.
You know, it really terrifies.
And that's exactly right.
And yet we don't see it until it's really out of control.
For sure.
See,
or if we're in denial and we just stuff it back, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So
Go ahead, Kat.
I always ask myself, why do I want that food? And it's usually due to an emotion, either very happy, I want to celebrate, or I'm very sad and I want to suppress. But since I decided to get healthy, I find I don't want those foods that I know are just pure sugar. So candy, for example, Halloween,
Hmm.
I am not in denial at all. I do not want candy. It gave me diabetes. It's just sugar. And if you've researched sugar and you know what it does to you, you don't want to do that to yourself. If you love yourself and you want to improve, you will come out of that denial very fast. But
Right.
even once in a blue moon, I will not do sugar in the form of
Right.
candy because it's just junk, you know?
Yeah.
Or desserts, like I don't have a piece of pie. But now
There's a,
ask me about cheese. Cheese is a comfort food. So it depends on the food and it depends on how much you're aware of why you want to eat it.
Yeah, that makes sense. That
yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
There's a channel that I was watching the other day, Munch Over Matter or something like that. I love her. She's so funny, and she said, this Halloween thing, they wanted her to tell them which is the candy that is the lowest in calories and the lowest in fat, and she said, none of it, none of it. If you're gonna have it, enjoy it, and just know that it's only going to be this 1 day or 2 days out of this year that you indulge. It's okay to indulge every once in a while. It's not okay to do it every day, and that's what I've always said, because I believe in that.
I agree with you, Rose.
I'm not going to go all Halloween and think I cannot have a candy, because then you know what I'm going to be doing? I'm going to be looking for peanut butter and jelly, something to give me that same
High.
effect.
Feeling.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
So
high feeling.
once I eat it, I'm done. I know I've had it. I'm okay.
I agree with Rose, but I love what Kathy said, because it goes back to she has a reason why she won't eat that sugar, her diabetes. And, and I've never suffered that, thank God. But when you've been through the heartache and the headache and the feeling of like, oh my God, my health is spiraling out of control, that changes your mind to change your life, Kathy. And that's why you can put that link together. So I respect 100%. And that's awesome that you're able to say, I don't want that. I know what it does to me. And I love the fact that, Mama Rose will say, well, I'll have just a little bit and I know where my cutoff point is. That's great. The struggle is for those people who are addicts who will sit down and eat a whole bag and then think, oh my God, at first they feel bad and then they don't, and they're like, well, tomorrow's a new day, I'll start tomorrow. Or if it's a Friday, well, I'm going to enjoy the rest of the weekend now, so I'll start Monday kind of thing. So I think it's great to put links to things to try to avoid them. Like, I don't bring cheese into my home unless I go to the deli and I'm making something and I buy a single serving of it for that meal, or I more have a tendency to enjoy it out. Or like I've been having a stick of cheese with lunch this week, but I stop at the convenience store on the way to work every day when I leave from walking Dexter, and I pick that up and I have it for my lunch, because if I bought 5 of them for the week, guess what? 5 of those could be eaten in one night.
Yeah.
So it's about learning to moderation and controlling yourself and thinking, why do I want to be out of control? Oh, hey, Elvis, I love you. I love your glass. So that's just my thought a little bit.
I'm in denial about Elvis. He's still alive somewhere.
I love it. I love it.
Well, you know what I've learned too is that you can learn a lot from when you aren't busy denying them.
Yeah.
Just let them be what they are. Let them be, our truths, our non-truths. Let them be what they are. But know that if you're in denial, that you're still going to, if you're busy denying them, you're not going to face them. But if you face them head on, eventually it's going to be a lot easier, to, like last year wasn't so good maybe, but then this year it's a lot better because you learned from those mistakes of weight gain. We've all done that. We've all been there, and we just learn from year to year to do better, do better. Mm-hmm. Instead of buying the big old candy bar, I bought the little bitty ones.
Right.
That's right. Okay, let's see. I was going to say, do you think in the past that anything could have awakened you sooner from your denial? Whether it's before you started your journey or any time during your journey? Do you think that anything other than maybe how you did awaken to it could have, if someone spoke to you about it, do you think you would have responded? Go ahead and answer that, Kathy.
I don't really think so, because that's the nature of being in denial. No matter what anybody's saying to you, you think you have a handle on it, or you think you know why. In my case, I had a terrible childhood. I didn't have much reason to believe in myself. So anybody else telling me, you can do better than this, or don't you see what you're doing to yourself, would have just fallen on deaf ears. I think it's a personal thing. I think everybody has to come to that realization themselves. Anybody else telling you it's just not going to work. Yeah.
Do you agree with that, Rob?
I do agree with it, because I think that when you're heavy, it's no different than if you're a smackhead or an alcoholic or any of these. You don't want someone telling you you have a problem. Now, we're dealing with food, so that's what we're talking about here tonight. But it's no different. I mean, most of us did not get overweight from doing too much exercise or eating too much food, too much calories. Okay, I mean, let's be real. For a lot of us, this is hand to mouth, and that's how we got into our problems. So nobody wants to be confronted on that. For one, most of the time, most people, not all, will probably already feel somewhat ashamed, humiliated, worried about people talking about them. Do they think I stink? And the list goes on and on. We all know what the list is, right? But at the end of the day, I agree with what Kathy said, and I think you have to find your own rock bottom. And I think someone telling you can send you into denial even further, in my opinion. It can really make you say, to hell with them, I don't care what they think. I'm going to do what I want to do. Okay? And then it leads to something that just fireballs, like a domino effect. And I think you can get into serious problems with that. For me, like Kathy had shared with the childhood when she was younger, I had a great childhood, but I went off the rails trying to play competitive tennis, and I had a tennis coach, and something that he said just led me in the wrong direction, and it crippled me physically to the point where I became bulimic. And then my rating went from being the #2 player, and I was trying to get to #1, to going down below #10, and I said, I just got to get this weight off and I'll be better. And you guys, I weighed 165 at the time. But the guy that was in front of me, the only thing I remember that my coach said to me, you guys, when he was talking to me, and he meant nothing by this, was he was like, he's smaller than you and he can move faster than you. So in my mind, all I registered was, he's smaller than me, I got to lose weight. His point wasn't negative towards me. His point was, you have to get control of the ball on serve, because you're not going to beat him in a back and forth running match. You have to gain control at that baseline, and you have to hold control and keep him running until he tires, and you can hit that killer hit. Okay? So that's what led me to that. And then from that, I had a terrible experience when I was in my mid-20s, and I fireballed from there, and I was fine for 3 years, and then I went from being at one end of drastically sick and bulimic to being obese for 12 years before I decided to do something about it. And I was in denial of when I was 16 and this happened, and I was in denial when I was 25 and this happened. But my source was food, because for me, I felt like food wasn't as shaming as being a drug addict or being an alcoholic. And they're all bad, and I'm not saying one is worse or better than the other. But for me, my choice was, I can get the food. I can't get the other stuff without doing something illegal or spending a lot more money. So my choice was food, and I used it for a long time. And so, we all have our stories, and we all have reasons that do it. And I'm sure there's denial in everybody somewhere at one point or another. But,
Yeah.
what can we do, right?
Right.
I agree. Yeah.
In my case, I kind of felt the same way, only I was being abused at the time. And so I didn't want to confront that. So food was okay, and I was a child. So there, like you said, maybe the word should have been done differently, but I heard things like, "You're disgusting." Things like, can't you, can't you lose weight yet? I mean, what's your problem? Why don't you just put the fork down? And then never in a way. It was always like in a, stop already. Just stop eating. So what I did is I hid, and I ate behind doors. I didn't, I didn't want people to see me eat because, that I was in denial. But if you didn't eat, then I was okay. If you saw me
Right.
eat, then I couldn't confront what was really happening. So, in my case, I did it behind the doors, closed doors, and I thought that was okay. So my
Right.
denial was, if you don't see me, if it's not out in the open, it ain't happening.
And keeping it real, Rose. Nothing against you, because this can go for any of us. But people that are overweight tend to not want to eat in public, or they don't want to go into a restaurant because they're worried sometimes and stuff. But at the end of the day, someone isn't continuing to get bigger and bigger and bigger from not eating. Because I don't know how many times people will say, "Oh my God, I don't understand how she's so big," or "He's so big, they don't even eat much." Oh, honey, they're eating. They just ain't eating in front of people, right?
Right.
Okay, because we're not getting to our sizes by not eating. I mean, there is a lot of eating and hiding in secret, or going through drive-throughs and eating in the car and then hiding the wrappers and stuff in the trash in the garage or in the house. I mean, that's that's real for a lot of us, maybe not all, but I mean, you hear it all the time. They're like, "I don't understand why she's so big. She doesn't eat much." Oh, she's
Right.
eating. You can bet your ass she's eating.
And you know what? I heard it all the time. Well, how
Yeah,
can you be so big? You don't even hardly eat.
right.
But what the problem is that, you can't change what you refuse to confront.
Right.
You just can't.
That's so
So,
true.
Right.
That's so true. Well, at the beginning of my weight loss journey, I believe that certain things were going to be a certain way as time unfolded in the journey. And I think that for a long time, that me coming to the acceptance of the way things are, with where I was going to land in this journey, also caused me to have a lot of denial and just, having faith that if I just keep doing this, if I keep doing X, then I'm going to get the Y result. Did any of you guys go through that or in your journey at all? If, like either modeling something that you saw either in a plan or watching people on YouTube and seeing their journey and thinking, well, so my journey should go 1, 2, 3.
well, for me, I thought I was going to come out with smaller hips and smaller legs because I saw everybody else doing, I did the same exercises, the same diet, basically, and I'm thinking, I should look like her. What's wrong with me? What happened? And I talked to this person every single day. I followed everything she did, and her results were different than mine. I had to come to the conclusion that, first of all, my body type is different, and second of all, she was taller than I was. Plain and simple.
Everybody's taller than you, Rose.
Unfortunately.
Well,
I'm a little
I
mouse
don't know.
mama.
Yeah. Sometimes I just think that we let ourselves go. Go ahead.
Mhm. Well, I was just going to say I'm a rule follower. So when I was researching before I decided to lose this weight, I learned as much as I could, and I made sure that I committed to the process and that I would follow the rules. And when I commit to following the rules, I do. I very rarely stray. But just something that Rob was saying earlier, I just wanted to mention, I was a happy fat person. I was a confident, happy fat person. I didn't hide it. I was a foodie. I went out to ethnic restaurants with all my friends, technical support friends, and it was part of my persona that Kathy loved food and she was very cultured in all of the different ethnic varieties out there. And so that was something I enjoyed. And then as I've now shrunk, now I do find like I I feel guilty if I have a piece of cheese now. Now I am the one that's grabbing the cheese and eating it without anybody seeing me. So I'm actually a little bit reversing that role that you were talking about. It's just very strange. But I used to be very muscular, very thin when I was in my late teens, early 20s. I had cheerleader stepsisters, and so I know what it's like to be fit and healthy and you know, strutting my stuff. And what I really want to stress in this entire thing is emotions. Emotions is what causes people to go into denial. And I did for a long time. I used food to get happy, and I had to tell myself, honestly, I'm in denial about this. I'm not happy. And when you confront it, then all of a sudden, all of the walls fall down, and you realize the truth of it.
Right.
Exactly.
So, Kathy,
I totally agree.
Kathy, if you said you were happy, you know, bigger, and that was kind of your persona, and everybody's seen that. If you wouldn't have been eating those foods, though, would have you still been happy that size, or was it the food that was the quote medicine that kept you happy?
It was the food, because it was not just the food, but it was the social gathering around the food. I planned people to come to my backyard and have big get-togethers with food. I went to restaurants with people to have food. I love planning. I should have been a wedding planner or something, because I love planning and I love food. But it wasn't until my health started affecting me that I realized, like, I was happy being fat. I would not have lost the weight or wanted to if it hadn't have been forced on me to confront what is going on here. Why are you eating all the time? And it was really all about emotions.
But I think also it's also the type of food, because if I was eating kale all day long, you know,
That's true.
but I'm talking about, I wanted to eat, you know, like mole and, you know, my Mexican food and, you know, all that lard in my beans, because, you know, without that lard and them beans, it's not going to taste right.
That's true.
I learned how to eat them correctly now, you know, with no lard. But there was a time where I was like, oh, y'all aren't eating the food right. You know, you got to eat it this way. So I think it was the type of foods probably, too, that made us, you know, have those taste for that particular thing that we really wanted. And it's all going to have fat.
And I'm sure Rob can agree, there are a lot of restaurants out there that serve really delicious, rich, butter-laden
Cheese.
food. You know. Cheese.
I'll share this, and I think I've shared it on a show before, but I used to be a leader at Weight Watchers when I had lost weight I was around 24, and I was a leader, and I did one night a week. Well, I sometimes would go to other lecturers' class so that I could learn like what they were saying and maybe implement it in my class. We always had a guideline that we had for that week that we had to go by, but we could ad-lib a little bit and stuff like that. Well, I sat in this one class, and I thought, these people are absolutely flipping crazy. They were talking about Progresso soup that had came out even back in the day, where the vegetable soup would register, like you didn't have to claim points for it and things like that if you only had half of a can. So this turned into, if you had a whole can, you had to claim 1 point. If you had half a can, you didn't have to claim any point. And so people were saying, well, so if I waited 45 minutes between eating the first half and the second half, do I have to claim a point or not? And finally, the instructor, who's one of my favorite leaders ever, she goes, folks, let's be honest here. None of us got here from eating too much soup. So let's say this. If your lunch is a can of soup, claim 1 point. If you're having half, claim 0. But it was so funny because, I mean, these people sat there and talked about, for 10 minutes, about how much soup was going to either be no point or a point. And it was, you guys, it was so ridiculous how in-depth the conversation got. So someone could find a food where they didn't have to attach a point to it. And I thought, oh my God. And she was like, none of us got here from eating too much soup. Let's move on. So it was really, really great, you guys. And I really enjoyed working at Weight Watchers and being a lead and stuff. That was really fun.
Hey guys, before we continue, let me tell you who's here. Diana, Raw Girl. She says, hi,
Hi, Diana.
Hi, all. Weight loss is crazy, isn't it? I agree. 50 plus makes weight loss harder. Yes. And Janice Bagby. Hi, sweetie.
Hey, Jenny.
Hi, everyone. So nice to see you all. Oh Lord, my thing just went. Oh, hold on a minute. Mom and Me VSG. Hi, girlfriend. Mom and Me. Her and her daughter had surgery. She says, hi, kids. Great topic. LJB says, very much an issue. Hiding while eating. Very true. Snacking in bed. Yep. And she also says, hi, lovelies. So I'm glad to see all you guys showed up.
Yeah, so glad to have you guys out here, rooting us on. And just the point that Rob made about the conversation at Weight Watchers, I mean, I think that goes on when people are at the workplace, it goes on in families where everyone's trying to justify and find a way around, right? Facing the reality. Like, and the same could be, you can have that same discussion about soda pop or about sugar-free, regular, or any other type of food, that is on the questionable list, whether it could be that or it could be, about any habit that we have, whether it's, we can always find ways to try to justify the different things that we do. It's only one piece of corn versus the whole can, or stuff like that, and it will be okay this time, and it probably will be okay one time, but yeah, just coming to terms with, and this is the other thing. I was talking to Rob about this one day last week, I think. It's when people are pretending to follow the rules. This is something I see in the community, and I'm not going to call any names because I've seen it more than once. But people pretending to follow the rules and really kind of like fooling themselves because the conversation they're having out of the other side of their mouth about what else they're doing, which directly contradicts following the rules. Do you know what I'm saying? And I'm not opposed to it, but I kind of think to myself, who's fooling who? I don't know. Do you guys see that on people's videos sometimes? And not to point anyone out in particular, but
deep down, all of us know the truth deep down, right? And that person could be making that video and saying, trying to convince themselves that they're going to get on the right path, but in the meantime, they're going to convince themselves that they're doing right. And we have to agree with them. I've seen that more than anything. And a lot of times, it really isn't worth the breath that you're going to try and convince them and go, no, I think you're doing it wrong, because they're not going to listen anyway, even if you suggest it, I think, because I've already been there, done that.
I agree. I certainly don't watch those videos with the intent of making comments. I watch them in a little bit way of like disbelief, like really, because I would be the one saying that, I would hear myself say it, or I'd watch my video back and go, seriously, right?
Yeah.
I think on YouTube too, whether we admit it or not, YouTube is an amazing source for all of us to come together. We all battle a lot of the same things, even though our stories are very different, and we may have different struggles in the area of weight loss in the community. There's a lot of times we hand people crutches, and I think it's because a lot of these people we've never truly met, and we can sympathize with them. But when they say something, a lot of times excuses are being made, whatever the circumstance may be. And I've done it myself. I'm not pointing anybody out. I've done this myself. You leave a comment of support because you don't know what else to do, or you feel like, should I really call them out? And like Mama Rose said, if you call them out, it's probably not going to work. But boy, there sure is a lot of get-out-of-jail-free cards passed around here on YouTube for people maybe not making the best decisions and stuff. And maybe it's not our place to call someone out. So maybe that's the easiest thing to do to keep the peace, is to hand out the get-out-of-jail-free card. But if it's someone that you're truly friends with, or that you care about, you can also talk with that person offline or whatever, and not tell them what to do, but just say, hey, I watched your video. Are you sure, you're not in denial a little bit? Are you sure that you're doing the right thing? And I want you to tell me the same thing. It really depends on how close you are to that person. There is a few people on YouTube that I know I could do that, and they would never question me, and they would say, oh my God, thanks for having my back. And there's others that I would never approach that with. And while I try to be supportive in the comments, I don't try to justify what they've done, because usually you can tell if someone's just sitting there making excuses or has a I don't give a shit kind of attitude, but yet they're still making a video.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of get out of jail free cards here.
Rob, you made a great point, but let me tell you what my experience, I did that. I got offline and I spoke to, I typed to that person and I told them how I felt, and I really loved her and enough. And I got shunned. Not shunned. I got where she put what I had written on, in public. And
she put you on blast.
Yeah, I'll never do that again. People can only do that to me one time, and then I say, okay, I'll never do that again. Mm-hmm. So I personally, I understand why that person said, but I thought I was helping. And then I had to ask her for forgiveness, because I was like, well, I never meant to hurt you in any way. I thought you wanted us, because she asked us to give her some good advice. And I did it, not in the video. I did it personally, and I got blasted for it. So sometimes you can't win that way either.
Right. We live and learn, and I don't think you can always win. And there is only a very few people that I would even do that with. Other people I would give encouraging words of support, like, well, I'm really sorry to hear that. I hope the rest of your week goes absolutely amazing. Something to this effect, because that's my trademark word, you guys. It's amazing. I ain't even gonna lie. But anyway, so I'm gonna let Kathy talk, because I can go on and on and on. But I just want to say, I'm not judging anybody. I'm not saying I haven't given out those cards, that I have not taken them. I've made a ton of mistakes, you guys. I'm not judging anybody. I'm just saying anyone can see that there is those crutches given out and those get out of jail free cards. And are we really helping somebody? Probably not. But at the end of the day, we just, at the time, I guess we do what our heart or our mind tells us to do, and maybe it's not always the right choice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't give anybody advice. It's the first thing, my first rule is I don't give advice at all. I'm here on YouTube to be an example, and sometimes I'm not the greatest example, but I'm here for people who, I remember when I was a pre-op and I was searching for videos, and I was looking for somebody my height, my age, my weight, and I remember how important it was that I found people, and I couldn't find very many, so I thought, I'm going to give back, and I'm going to do this the way that I wanted that person to be there when I was, like, one of the reasons I found Rosemary is she's closer to my age. I did not know she was 5 feet.
4'11".
4'11", right?
So I'm 5'9", so that didn't work out too well. Can't compare, right?
Yeah.
So I put it out there. I'm an open book, and I try not to ever give people advice, because, like we were saying earlier, people won't listen to it anyway. They have to come to that realization on their own. Hopefully, just by watching me or just by watching you, lovely people, they will come to that realization on their own.
Well, that's why you always say, when I say something, I say, remember, these fingers are pointing right back at me, and I've experienced. I try and talk about my experiences,
right?
Not tell anybody what to do, because it doesn't, that's
I really make an effort on my channel too to not really try to give advice unless someone asks, and I try as much as I can to use the words I and me instead of we and us. I don't speak for others. I speak for myself. I'm telling people what I saw with my 2 eyes. If you don't like that, you can pluck them out and give me 2 more. No, I'm just kidding. I saw that on Housewives of Atlanta. I'm just kidding with that. But so that's what I try to do. I try not to give advice unless I'm asked, because I really have no certifications in anything other than modeling and being an actor, and those ain't really criteria that help people, with any kind of psychology or psychiatrist or anything like that. So That's what I try to do on my channel, so come check me out. Puffdaddy. No, just kidding.
Okay.
Life happens. That's the channel, so everybody check out. If you will. Yeah, I think that leading by example is always good, and I think that when people are asking for advice, I think that it's more general. That would probably be, you know, general, like pointing people in the right direction rather than giving them specific pieces of advice, because what works for me might not work for Kathy, Rosemary, or Rob, and you know what works for Rob might not work for any of us, or vice versa, any which way. So, you know, like general piece of advice would be like something that would go with a rule, right? If somebody had a question, like, you know, ask them to go back to their position. But I know I myself, as a new post-op person, I was like desperate for advice sometimes when I saw that something was going on in my journey, and I saw that it seemed that that person or those people might have an inkling of an idea. So it wasn't like I was looking for specific advice, but I was looking to be steered, you know, maybe in the right direction.
Yeah.
With something I was thinking. And so people ask me, you know, I know sometimes I get into the rah-rah, we, us kind of thing. You know, we can be motivated. I'm really trying to just generate motivation for people in that regard, not so much tell them that they should do as I do, because, you know, I know my case isn't everyone else's case. And thank goodness for that, right? We'd have a lot of upset weight loss surgery people if they all were had my case.
That's not true.
Oh, you know what I'm saying, but
I think
yeah,
we get into that a lot with macros, right? Like a lot of people want advice on, you know, how much protein, how much carbs, how much, you know, water. And I'm in Canada. Our system is totally different than yours. We do not limit carbs, and so we limit bad carbs, but we still have lots of carbs. I mean, it's not as strict as some of the other programs that I've seen from the United States. So I can't give advice.
Well, yeah, I know, and I think that for me, I know that those regulations are strict for a reason, because you know, I thought, you know, like you say, the macros, what works for some people. If I ate the kind of carbs that they did, I would be bigger than I was starting weight loss surgery.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is for me.
Like if I have a banana, some people just, you know, flip
Oh,
out. You had a banana?
Yeah. It's like fast, right? You can have like a piece of banana. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you're first post-op, I think my plan was, just to get off track, was 20 carbs per day. 20 carbs. Yeah, no, 20 sugars maximum per day. So sugars equate to carbs in a way. So
And
that was
my thing 11 years ago, I had no restrictions, no nothing. All I was told was, you're not cakes for the rest of your life. I want you to eat. But I wasn't told, you know, only eat so much of this and so much of that. I wasn't going to be able to eat that much anyway, you know. And I'm very grateful I found YouTube to get me back on track, because I stalled in my like in my second year, my third year more or less. I say I stalled, and when you look at it now, I've lost over 300 pounds. That's not a stall. But if you go from year to year, you know, it feels like a stall, because you're like, I didn't lose any more than that. And then the doctor looks at me and goes, I think you're looking for too much. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think that is another place of denial, is where the doctor says, well, we think that this type of tool will help you this much. And you're thinking, oh, well, I know if I do this, this, and this, that it's going to be 100%, right? That was my denial. That was one of the biggest denials I had at the beginning, was not actually hearing exactly what he said, or wanting to hear it and thinking that I could, if I did follow all the rules and dot the I's and T's and do the exercise and the this and the that and the other, that my result would be 100% excess weight loss. And I think that was a huge denial on my part, and I had really paid the price for that after the fact in disappointment and a lot of sadness, and I don't want to go into it.
Zen. I think I'm the same as you. I thought I'm a rule follower. As long as I do what they tell me, I'm going to get 100% off. Never mind that 70%.
100%, and I won't settle for anything less. That was the other thing. I won't settle.
The part that's frustrating too, I think, is what happens, I think, and this isn't going to be a popular comment, people get so hooked up on the number and the image that they lose all this weight and they fail to change their mind. And guess what? The weight comes back. It doesn't matter if you're weight loss surgery or non-weight loss surgery. If you do not change your mind, you will put your weight back on. Period. End of discussion. Unless you're doing something that is unhealthy, you're starving yourself, you're not eating, you're throwing up, you're just living on pills or whatever the case might be. Everyone gets so attached to, I got to be this number, because if I'm this number, it makes me normal, it makes my doctor happy, it makes me this, it makes me that. That's all fine and dandy, but at the end of the day, you have to learn how to live and be able to maintain a healthy weight. And and it doesn't matter whether you're weight loss surgery or not, that's what happens. Everybody gets fixated on these numbers that, quote, make us normal. I mean, how many times have we heard, no matter what side you're on, oh, I can't wait to get to Wonderland, I can't wait to get to Twonderland, I can't wait to get to this, I'm on the other side of the bench, I'm on this, I'm on that. I understand that's all great things, this is my, first surgiversary, or I've been on my weight loss journey for 2 years. It's fun to have those things, and I understand all that, and there's nothing wrong with the rah-rah, but sometimes I really worry that the true message is lost as to what we should be aiming for. And I think sometimes that people go so drastic that you totally mess up your system. And I'm not a doctor, so I'm just saying, this is what's common sense to me. And when you mess up that system, you ain't getting it back. So you can be limited to eat only certain things, and if you eat something else, you're going to see a gain, because I think to the body it could become poison, because we just focus so much, we're going to eat this way for a year, I'm going to get all my weight off, whatever the case might be. But at the end of the day, if you don't change your mind, you always go back to your old habits. A lot of people do. Not everybody, but a lot of people do. I mean, look at the regain statistics, both weight loss surgery and not.
But I think the regain happens because we're limited on this amount of calories, let's say 600 to 800, because that's basically pretty normal at the beginning, okay? And then when you're able to eat a little bit more, your body is like, oh, what happened? Oh, let me see. Your body is a machine, and so it's going to gain the weight because you added 200 more calories to what you were used to all those years. That's exactly what happened to me, I think.
Right, but who lives on 600 calories a day?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Exactly,
so,
that's what I'm saying.
And the thing is,
you made a great point.
3 different RNY doctors and 3 different VSG doctors and 3 different just weight loss doctors, it's not surgery related, and ask them a question, and I guarantee you, every one of them, if they're not working in the same office, is going to tell you something different. You had no restrictions when you started. Kathy has different restrictions in Canada. Zen has very strict restrictions given to her by her doctor. I mean, it's baffling to me that you can go to 3 different doctors that perform the same surgery, and every one of them will give you a different set of rules that you follow that is the best set for you to follow. It's the same thing if I went to just a regular weight loss person, a doctor getting my weight under control. I guarantee you if I went in and recorded them, every one of them would be different and say, you need to eat this much carbs a day, you need to eat this much fiber a day. They're not going to be the same. And to me, that's baffling. I don't understand that.
At the end of the day, I think the best thing that I have learned is that I have my habits down. I can truly say that there's going to be movement a day, there's going to be very low carbs, and there's going to be more protein and vegetables on my plate. you know, and yes, I do drink coffee. So
Rah, rah.
at the end of the day, I think habits is what you need to learn to be successful, and not
Right.
deny yourself that success. Do not deny yourself that success.
Right. And that it isn't so much the number, but I think that people get in their mind, like myself, I had in my mind so much of the end result, not necessarily a specific number. I mean, there would probably were numbers that I was hoping to see, but yeah, I think that, like you said, Rob, that it's going to be what it's going to be when the journey comes to its final chapter, right? And your body has come down the hill and glided to a stop where that is. Whether that's considered normal or you're still considered obese, you know, at the end of the day, it is what it is, basically, and that it's a matter of acceptance, and rather than being in denial, it's not over till it's over and all that kind of thinking.
Well, I think while you're losing the weight, it's a good time for you to reassess why you eat. And like Rob says, get a good relationship with food. So, especially in weight loss surgery case, you know, you're under this metabolic reset. You have a little bit of leeway to take time and assess, why am I reaching for this? Especially in the stages where you can start to eat more, and ask yourself, and this is where it all comes back to the emotions for me. And so for the first year, it's great to follow rules. It's great to look at those numbers. It's important because it helps you to stay on track. But then as soon as you start to broaden out, start to reach for that food, you need to stop and ask yourself, why am I doing this? Come to terms with your emotional attachment to food. And like I now am turning to yoga to try to go inward and understand a little bit more of why I'm doing what I'm doing instead of just doing what I'm doing. So there's numbers and there's feelings, and I think you have to have a good handle on both.
And of course you've got Jerry now.
I have Jerry now.
Yay!
You give my Jerry a big old hug for me.
That's right.
I will.
That's right.
I will.
I mean, it's wonderful when you have the partner to help you out. I mean, I think that's an amazing. My sister has guns that works her butt out, and you know, she was telling me today that, you know, oh, by the way, she said she would be watching, but she couldn't comment. But you know, it's hard when you know, you're constantly working out and doing something, and you want to get smaller and smaller. Sometimes your body's just gonna, like my doctor recently told me, you know, your body is at a standstill right now, but it's not a bad thing. You know, you can either gain muscle or lose muscle. I want to lose it all. I want to get small.
Don't we all?
You know, but then,
I mean, you want to gain muscle. You don't want to lose it all.
Well, you know what I'm saying. I want to be able to look in,
Right.
you know, and just be teeny tiny. Well, that's not going to happen so much because I'm so short. I'd have to be taffied out. You know, you take the taffy and you kind of stretch it out. That ain't going to happen. The thing is that how emotionally, how happy are we today? How happy are we? How happy are you, Rob? How happy are you, Zen? How happy are you, you know, Kathy? How happy are you with what you're doing for yourself today?
I am so happy with what I'm doing with myself. I get too focused in the outward and the numbers, so I'm starting to rein that back in and look at the emotions, because that's very important. But I'm happy. I am so happy compared to where I was 2 years ago. If I just stay like this for the rest of my life, I'll be happy.
Yeah. You know, I couldn't be healthier. I couldn't be, you know, more vibrant and ready to go. You know, I couldn't say that. I couldn't say that.
To lose.
Yeah, but I couldn't say that when I was heavier. I couldn't.
That's right. I couldn't.
You
either.
know, I barely got up out of bed. You know, and my girls.
I mean, I was happy, but I was happy. I shouldn't say I couldn't be happier. I was happy when I was big, but I was not healthy. And eventually, when you're not healthy, you're not happy.
Right.
In denial a lot of the time when I was heavier, because I actually hated that part of myself. So, yeah, I pushed through and I smiled a lot and all that. But I don't think I would trade my happiness today and for where I'm at physically as far as strength-wise, even though when I was younger and before I had my kids, I was a lot thinner, but I was never actually in this good of muscle tone, and this strong. So, here I am way older, right, than when I moved here to California and weighed 105 pounds. It's all good that I'm strong and I'm still pressing forward to try to develop my muscle and be the best that I can be. And I still am looking forward to getting off excess weight, and I'm not in denial. I know that it's going to happen one day, and it's not going to be some miraculous event. It's going to be something that's, going to have done to me to continue my journey. And I'm doing the best I can with what I have for today.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
Well, are we going to end this?
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for joining us for this segment. We are going to come back maybe next month with some other topics. If you guys have any topics you want for us to talk about, I'm going to be putting panels together maybe once a month or so. It's not going to be on any rigid set schedule. So I hope you'll join us. I hope you've enjoyed our commentary here tonight with the great minds of YouTube. Well, some of them anyway.
I've got a
And I want to
question.
thank you all, my panelists, for joining me tonight in this collaboration. I really appreciate it with all my heart that you guys came out and joined me to have this conversation. I love you all. And Kathy, you did amazing, as I knew you would.
Yes, you did.
On your first show. You're very welcome. And thank you, Rose. Thank you, Rob. I love you guys. And, we'll do it again if you all want to join up. We'll pick a topic another time, or we'll include some new people on our panels. So thank you guys for joining us. Have a great night. Everybody want to say one last comment before we go?
One more thing. I just want to say, if you can't face it, you can't heal it. If you don't say it, you will never come to grips with it. Let's continue to heal.
Amen.
Very well said.
Any last comment, Rob, Kathy?
Well, I would just like to thank everybody for watching my very first live YouTube event, and I'd like to thank you, Zen, for inviting me, and I hope to do a lot more. So it was great to be here.
And I'm all dressed up for it.
I know, and you even had the mask. Go ahead, Rob.
I've done shows before with Zen and Rose, so it was really nice doing a show with you, Kathy. It's nice
thank you, Rob.
In person, so to say. I just want to remind the viewers it's very important that we really focus on changing our mind to change our life, and don't wait until you're close to a number to decide to do something about the mental game of it, because I can guarantee you from the time I was 16 to 44, the mental game is the hardest part of this, and you have to start from the beginning to conquer that, so that we can truly change our mind to change our life and find that happy place that we call maintenance or living life. So you guys, let's remember life happens. Let's remember to hold ourselves accountable, but let's not disrespect ourselves or talk bad about ourselves. Let's lift ourselves up. Thank you, guys.
Love yourself.
Yep. Love you guys. Thanks for joining us. And
Bye.
Bye.